Sometimes it seems to me that Khrystyna is older than me and more mature than I am. Every year I was together with her and grew up with her. She's a young girl with a unique talent whose mother and teacher are trying their best to help her progress.
Различные педагоги помогают огранять.
For me, music is a life, a profession, a hobby, and my favorite pastime. This beautiful, smiling girl is an incredibly hardworking, very talented and serious pianist. She's the winner of the first awards of many prestigious national and international competitions. She performed in France, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland, the US, and many other countries. Her story began in 2005 in Simferopol, Crimea, when she was born into a creative family. Our heroine's name is Khrystyna Mykhailychenko. The first time she played on the piano was at the age of 5. It was her grandmother who put the little fingers of the future virtuoso on the black and white keys. You know, my grandmother and grandfather are professional musicians, and my grandmother taught piano at a music school. She had a student, a boy, who was a year or two older than me. It was exactly at that very moment that I realized I was attracted to attending music lessons. The young girl liked the sounds of an instrument that was unusual for her. Then it was impossible to stop her. At the age of 5, Khrystyna won her first competition, and at the age of 7 she gave a solo concert. After that, she performed with an orchestra and won first place at an international competition in the Netherlands. Back then, the parents never thought that the world of music would enthrall Khrystyna to the point that she decided to give up choreography. It was a family council. I remember it well. I was very concerned because it seemed to me that her father wanted her to become a dancer, as he was a ballroom dancer. I am glad that I became engaged in this and gained such good experience. But at that time, it was my decision, and I have not changed my mind and do not regret my decision to this day. At that time, Khrystyna did not know that in the future her family would have to make another very difficult decision, though without any alternatives. 2014. The annexation of Crimea became a tragic event not only throughout the country, but also a personal tragedy of the Mykhailychenko family. In the same year, the family moved to the Kiev Oblast, and Khrystyna entered the Lysenko School of Music. Unfortunately, Khrystyna at her age endured a lot of tragedies, including moving, annexation, and tragedies in the family. Therefore, she has her share of experiences in life. Of course, moving to Kiev was a good decision for her. One way or another, Crimea is a musical backwoods, so she would have had to move and continue her studies anyway. Oksana Novikova and her husband Mykola Holovko were familiar with the young pianist and her family for a long time. They are also migrants from Crimea who moved to Lviv and run their own small business. After some time, the family met the young pianist. From the media, Oksana found out about another tragedy in the Mykhailychenko family, the death of her father and husband. I decided to write to Natalia and invite them to visit Lviv. At the beginning, we just met. When I began to learn more about Khrystyna, about her work, about her training, and about many other things, I realized how talented she was. Our family decided to support her studies, her practices, and her education. Khrystyna demonstrates all her emotions when she's playing on the piano. At the same time, she gets an adrenaline surge from this incredible world of music and charges her audience with all of her energy. Last year, Khrystyna played in a Lviv church. It is during such live concerts that the full depth of the inner experiences and soul of the pianist are truly realized.
Когда публика, изначально слышит, что Khrystyna еще очень юная исполнительница, думает, что, это как бы...
When the audience discovers that Khrystyna is a very young player, they think that the music will sound more amateur.
То, конечно, кроме того, что...
But when the people feel and hear the impeccable sounds and understand the level of the performance, the music makes an amazing impression on the listening audience.
Проносит через свои выступления, через свое исполнение, и оно очень сильно влияет на людей.
Beware of losing the opportunity, otherwise one day it may be too late, said Franz Liszt. Khrystyna's family appreciates every day and never puts possibilities on the back burner. Somehow, life in recent years has given such lessons that you have already changed a completely different level of relations. And questions about my child's career and her future don't bother me. I'm living here and now, and this is very important for me personally.
Не то, что не беспокоит, конечно, беспокоит, но мы живем сегодня, это очень важно.
Today, Khrystyna has many projects, festivals, meetings, acquaintances, and attends master classes. The principle of a career or career growth does not rule in Khrystyna's family. She went through a 2-week master class of a chamber ensemble in Belgium. This is an amazing school, Music of Mundi, where famous and world-renowned players arrived, and there for 2 weeks she saw a completely different world. It seems to me that for children it is a great learning portal. It's probably more of a privilege than, for example, to choose between a competition.
Это только на сегодняшний день, что касается темы.
For the last 2 years, I have not participated in contests. Out of principle, I don't want to, but it is happening now. Look, here are these 2 diplomas from the last Horowitz contest in 2016. And it's like these tablets from a contest in Zaporizhia, the Hortitsa Accords. The first is the Grand Prix, and in the second, first place. Today, Khrystyna shows her endurance, professionalism, skills, not in music competitions, but in playing with a bona fide and professional adult orchestra. She gets pleasure, when such collective work is underway, because after something very great appears, it is very painful, and it seems to her that there are discrepancies somewhere. That is, she's worried about everything she does and wants to do her best. The last concert was held at a recording studio. One clarinetist missed his part, as he started later than necessary, and the conductor was already waving at him. Just trying to tell him to join the ensemble's performance, and I was playing at the time. We didn't experience such a situation during rehearsal.
И мне пришлось повторить чуть ли не 3 такта заново, чтобы не разойтись с оркестром. И такого на репетиции ни разу не было.
For a young pianist, playing with an adult orchestra is always an invaluable experience. As she admits, the experience comes during rehearsals, but during the performance on the stage, she gets true satisfaction from playing. Several times, Khrystyna was lucky to work with Oksana Linev, a Ukrainian conductor, the first woman as the head conductor of the Opera and Philharmonic Orchestra in the Austrian city of Graz. This year, Khrystyna is waiting for another unforgettable event. This year, a trip with the young Ukrainian orchestra musicians to Beirut is planned. It will be an international festival, and Khrystyna will give a live performance there.
В Бейруте это будет международный фестиваль, и Тина будет играть там.
Khrystyna on the stage today and 5 or 6 years ago are 2 completely different musicians. It is interesting to watch her. Undoubtedly, today she's a completely different Khrystyna, because classical academic music, how can I put it in words, is our entire life. This is the philosophy of our life.
В нашем случае это, наверное, это наша жизнь, это философия нашей жизни уже.
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart said that the most necessary but the most difficult thing in music is time. The time spent with the instrument works for the pianist. According to Khrystyna, music takes up 99% of her life.
Бывает тогда, допустим, прошел концерт.
It happens so when you give a major concert, either solo or with an orchestra, and then the next day I can't afford not to play.
И на следующий день я могу позволить себе не играть.
Khrystyna also has a rest when the whole family decides to travel somewhere. These can be spontaneous meetings with friends, bike rides, or a trip to the sea. Khrystyna's family loves going to the seaside to relax. It inspires them and gives them a real boost of strength.
Помню все эти свои ощущения детства. Каждое лето, 3-4 месяца, это было, конечно, мои дети этого не имеют.
I remember all these feelings every summer for 3 to 4 months at the sea. Unfortunately, my children don't have such a possibility today. When we lived in Crimea, we went on vacation and had a good rest at the sea every summer.
Это было прекрасно, да. Эта память, она очень поддерживает на самом деле, детская.
On vacation, Khrystyna rests not only physically, but also morally. When we went on holiday to Egypt, I did not touch the instrument at all. And then, when I arrived home right on New Year's Eve, the first thing I did was sit down to play on the piano and play a couple notes to refresh my skills. I felt that it was important and necessary for me to do this, so that I would not lose my touch. Our young heroine managed to visit many countries, got an incredible pleasure from playing the best instruments, and had the opportunity to share her talent with the sophisticated European public.
В Европе, в Америке искусство на очень высоком уровне.
In Europe and America, art is at a very high level.
Как можно лучше. То есть у них нет каких-то там.
That is, if musicians of classical music do something, they do it as best as they can.
У них профессиональные оркестры с большим стажем. У них публика.
They play with professional orchestras that have great experience.
То есть у них раскупаются залы за очень долгое время. И всегда почти полные залы.
However, in Ukraine, the public is also interested in the development of art. Of course, this is not global changes, but the great performers always start with the smallest details. There are people who are ready to support young talent, though I must admit that today Ukrainian business, of course, is not quite ready for it. One day after a concert, Khrystyna's dream about having a new quality instrument to play on suddenly became reality. After one of the performances, where Khrystyna played a concert of Mozart, at the banquet, one man came up to me and expressed his great joy, his gratitude and surprise. I thanked him. At that time, I was looking for a conductor.
Его поблагодарила. На тот момент я искала дирижера. И он спросил, чем бы я могу помочь вам? А я говорю, мне нужен дирижер.
Perhaps this story would not have continued, but fate has its own plans for Khrystyna. After some time, this dialogue continued. I told him a little about our family, gave some materials about the family, and of course told him about our dream. He promised me that my daughter would soon have a new piano to continue her brilliant performances. We visited almost all the shops and workshops in Berlin, which could be bypassed.
Мастерских, и в магазинах, и там, где они уже готовы стоят, и там, где их реставрируют, и там, где их делают. Этот рояль это был один из первых магазинов, то есть не первый, но там в первые 5, скажем. И я села.
When I tried this instrument, I realized that neither new nor restored could sound better.
Ни в новом, ни в старом, ни в реставрированном.
It was this instrument that subdued and even shocked Khrystyna, and after some time passed, it went from Germany to Ukraine, to the house of a young talented pianist. Both Khrystyna and her mother are always looking forward to new interesting projects. We have talked about the dreams and desires of the young pianist. I would now like to play with some European orchestra, because I haven't had that experience yet. I played a lot with Ukrainian orchestras, but not with foreign ones.
Khrystyna — это тот, уже даже не ребенок, а
Khrystyna is a young performer who really deserves support. She is very hardworking and she always shows good results on the stage. She represents Ukraine and Crimea on the international arena. And for me, this is very important.
В том числе. И, ну, как для меня, как для крымчанки, это очень важно.
Daring and talented, courageous and restless, independent and happy, they are our future. They're the future of Ukraine.